I think about your brain as being in two modes. Two modes to your brain that you need to know about. There's autopilot. We've all experienced that. You know, you drive to work and get there and you're like, oh, who drove the car? Oh my God. Like, I don't even remember driving the car here. Yeah. Well, you did, Lewis. You drove the car. But the thing is that you were in the mode of your brain that's called autopilot. Well, what is autopilot? Autopilot is the interior part of your brain. You'll hear neuroscientists and psychologists talk about the basal ganglia. Very important thing to understand is that there's a part of your brain that its entire job is basically to execute your habits. Habits, big fancy word, means something very simple. Behaviors that you repeat without even thinking about it. When you pull your pants on in the morning, I guarantee you either put your left or your right leg in first. And you have to stop and think about which one it is, don't you? But not when you're putting your pants on.
Right, exactly.
Because that behavior is what researchers call a habit loop. It gets encoded as a closed loop system right here. Now, the problem for most of us is that half of the day we're on autopilot. And that's not me making a guess. That's what researchers that study habits and study psychology say. That half of your day, you're basically kind of checked out and you're on autopilot. And when you're checked out and you're on autopilot, any behavior pattern that you repeat can take over. And guess what are behavior patterns that we repeat? Thinking patterns. So self-doubt, worry, procrastination, overthinking, analysis paralysis, fear. Those are all thinking patterns that are habits. One of the most important things that I want people to understand is that you're actually not a worrier. You have a habit of worrying. Big difference. You're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. And when you understand that any behavior pattern, whether it is a thinking pattern like you doubt yourself all the time, or you get trapped upstairs noodling everything and you can never get started, or whether it's a behavior pattern like you drink too much, or you snap at your kids, or you micromanage your team. Every one of those behavior patterns and thinking patterns can actually be interrupted and replaced using science. Now, let's talk about the second part of the brain. Drive. That's this puppy right here. This is what you want. This is your prefrontal cortex. Drive is the mode where you're in charge of your thoughts, okay? It's where you are fully awake, you are present, and you are driving your thoughts and actions. When you're doing that, your prefrontal cortex is active. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that you need in order to learn new behavior, in order to do something difficult, in order to do something uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm a righty. If I were to try to write with my left hand, Lewis is going to torture me and tie my hand behind my back and make me do this. I could do it. It would look like I was writing with my foot. And if Lewis came up to me and said, hey, Mel, you want some bulletproof coffee? I'd be like, Lewis, I'm trying to concentrate. I can't do this. My prefrontal cortex would be el fuego because it is firing on all cylinders to communicate to my hand new behavior. So the thing that's cool about that is that you can use a simple trick. The moment you feel yourself hesitate, the moment you've got one of those moments where you know that you need to, this is that moment that Lewis talks to you about where you got to step outside of your comfort zone and you've got to lean into your passion and you've got to really take some risks and you got to feel the fear and you got to do it anyway. That's the moment where you just woke up and now you got a decision to make. Are you going to drift back into the habits or are you going to awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward and focus and do something new? And so the work that I've been doing and speaking about is all about the 5-second rule, which is a trick that I invented by mistake that helps you manually switch, no joke, your brain. It turns off and interrupts the part of the brain that is where all your habits and your behavior patterns are encoded, and it awakens your prefrontal cortex, which in 5 seconds flat allows your brain to help you change. And so, anyway,
I love it.
I was rambling on and on because you went on this thing about how your patterns can be destructive and nobody teaches us, and that's absolutely right. And what I want everybody to get out of this conversation between us is that you cannot control how you feel. You cannot control what triggers you, and the fact that you may rise up with anger, you may rise up with self-doubt, you may have anxiety, fill your body, but you can always control what you think and how you behave. And we spend way too much time trying to focus on manipulating how we feel about things and not enough time practicing the skills of controlling your behavior and your thoughts.
Because if you can control your behavior and your thoughts, then the way you feel will be different.
100%. And a lot of us are sitting around waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel courageous, waiting to feel confident, waiting for the right time. And that's not ever coming. Ever. Ever. You're not going to change your life up here. You only change it through action. And so to me, I did this interview with your friend Tom, and we talked about how motivation is garbage, and somebody memed it and went crazy. And so the point that I was trying to make is that motivation is great if you feel motivated, but it's garbage, and it's a losing bet to wait to feel ready. Because your body's not designed that way, and neither is your brain. And so I want everybody to understand that, first of all, you can't control the things that trigger you and the fact that you're going to feel afraid and you're going to feel doubt and you're going to feel uncertain. But you can always interrupt that feeling and take control in the moment and actually shift what you're thinking and shift how you behave. In this video, I'm going to show you the specific way that you can use the 5-second rule to stop doubting yourself and worrying so much. Now, a lot of people will tell you, oh, just think positive, or try not to worry. It sounds simple, but it's not easy. And the reason why it's not easy is because it doesn't work. And actually, research shows that when you try to ignore your worries, it can actually make them worse. Look, I understand this topic more than most people because I struggled for decades, not only with worrying and self-doubt. I actually suffered from anxiety and panic attacks for almost 25 years. And in fact, I took Zoloft for 2 decades to control my anxiety. Using the 5-second rule, I've not only been able to stop worrying and doubting myself, I've cured myself of anxiety, and I've been off meds for more than 4 years. I'm panic attack free, and I almost never, ever worry about anything. And you can teach yourself to do the exact same thing using the rule. First, here's what I want you to know. You're not a worrier. A lot of us call ourselves a worrier, right? Oh, I'm a worrier. You're not a worrier. You have a habit of worrying. That's a very big difference. You've allowed your mind to drift and linger on negative thoughts so many times, it's now a pattern of behavior that you repeat, and you don't even realize it. And that's actually good news, because that means that you and I can use the science of habits to break the habit of worrying and the habit of doubting yourself. In the language of habit research, the 5-second rule is what psychologists call a starting ritual. It's a tool that you can use that will interrupt the negative thought patterns that are encoded in your brain as habits and trigger positive new thought and behavior patterns. The 5-second rule is shockingly effective because it works with all the latest research about habits. What I've learned using the 5-second rule is that I do, in fact, have control over what I think. And when you use the 5-second rule, you'll discover that you do too. Here's how you're going to use the rule. The moment that you feel your thoughts drift, and have you ever noticed how worrying and self-doubt, they have a way of literally taking you away from a situation. You can feel your mind go from the present moment to drifting to something negative. Maybe you're sitting at a meeting at work and suddenly you start talking down at yourself and doubting yourself. It happens like that. But the moment that you catch yourself do it, that's a moment of tremendous power. You have a decision to make. You can either sit there and listen to the worry and listen to the self-doubt and let it hijack you, or you can make a decision to assert control. That's when you use the rule. You're going to use the countdown trick, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's essential. Counting backwards interrupts the negative thought pattern. It's also going to awaken your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that you need to override a bad habit and replace your bad habit with a positive new one. So every time you feel your thoughts drift to something negative, or you find yourself worrying about things you can't control, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it'll switch the gears in your brain, it'll interrupt the negative thought pattern, it'll activate your prefrontal cortex, and you've just created a starting ritual that will prime your mind to accept a more positive thought That is how you use the rule to change. Some days you might use the rule 20 times to interrupt your habit of worrying and doubting yourself. You see, I always thought procrastination had to do with the thing I was procrastinating around, right? Like that procrastination has something to do with work. Believe it or not, procrastination has nothing to do with your work. Procrastination is a form of stress relief. Let me explain this. So let's say that you've got some stuff going on in your life, and heck, who doesn't have stuff going on in your life? Maybe you're fighting with your significant other. Maybe mom's or dad's health is failing and it's really, really upsetting you. Maybe you've got some financial stuff. You put too much of your savings into Bitcoin, and now that that's crashed, you're stressed out about it, right? And so you go into work, and when you get into work, you got stuff to do. You kind of walk in and you got this big stress ball that subconsciously is hanging over your head. And so you walk in and you sit down, and you know you got 13 phone calls you need to make. And you also know that you've been chickening out, you've been making easy calls, and there's a bunch of CIOs or other people that are higher level that you haven't been calling. And so as you sit down to do it, and you got the stress on your shoulders, your brain it starts to go, wait a minute, well, you want me to make a call to somebody that I'm scared to make? Absolutely not. I'm so stressed out about, can we just watch some cat videos for a minute? And next thing you know, an hour's gone by. And then, of course, what do? You beat yourself up. So the only way that you can break this habit, and that's an important word for you to hear, you're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. Because if it's a habit, I can teach you to use science to break it. You see, all habits have three parts. There's a trigger, and in the case of procrastination, the trigger's always stress. Then there's a pattern you repeat, and in the case of procrastination, it is to avoid doing something. And then there's a reward. You get a little stress relief. The only way to break a habit, you guys, is not to deal with the triggers. You're never gonna get rid of the stress in your life. But you can 100% change your pattern of avoiding work. So next time that you're in a situation where you feel yourself hesitate, you spent way too much time checking out the highlights from last night's scores, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go, oh, I must be stressed out about something. Acknowledge the stress. Then go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to count to yourself because I want you to interrupt the habit that's stored here, and I want you to awaken your prefrontal cortex. Then I want you to just work, just for 5 minutes. The reason why I want you to only work for 5 minutes is because your problem isn't working. It's the habit of avoiding. I just need you to start. And here's the other cool thing. We know based on research that if we can get you to start, 80% of you are going to keep going. You know, I've heard a lot of experts say that fear isn't real. That is such a bunch of baloney. Fear is so real. In fact, there are probably things that you're afraid of doing right now in your life, in your relationships, at work. And the fact that you're afraid, that's robbing you of all of the experiences that you want to have in your life. I mean, if you're afraid to fly, that's going to limit your ability to travel and see the world or go visit friends. If you're afraid of public speaking, that's going to really limit your ability to express yourself and share your ideas. If you're afraid of talking to your boss or asking for a raise, that directly impacts how much money you make. Or what if you are dreaming of starting a business, or you've already started a new business, but you're afraid to talk to people and you're afraid to share your business with people? I mean, fear is something that stops us all. And that's why I'm here to talk to you, because it doesn't have to. Fear is real, but I am going to share a secret weapon that I have used for years to beat every single fear that used to stop me. Now, first, before we get into this secret weapon, I just want to cover a few facts about fear, what it is, what it isn't, and some things that you may not know about fear. So first thing, fear is a physical state in your body that is exactly the same as excitement. Let me say that again. Fear and excitement are the exact same physical state. Your heart races. You might sweat a little bit. You might feel tightening in your chest. You might feel a pit in your stomach. You have a surge of cortisol. It's basically the way that your body goes into a hyper-aware state because it's readying for action. Now, what's the difference between fear and excitement? Really simple. The only difference between fear and excitement is what your brain is doing as your body is all agitated. If you're excited, your brain's going, oh, wow, this is going to be so cool to ride this roller coaster. If you're afraid, your brain's going, no way, there's no way I'm doing that. This is dangerous. Get out of there. Don't do that. It's saying something different. So what's critical about understanding this is that we're going to use the fact that your mind is either working for you for excitement or against you with fear to your advantage. And I'll tell you about it in just a minute, how you're going to do that. Second thing I want you to understand is that you may have heard the advice, feel the fear and do it anyway. You may have heard the advice, oh, just try to calm down. Think positive thoughts. It doesn't work, does it? And there's a reason why it doesn't work. So let's go back to fact number one. When you're afraid, your body's in a state of arousal and agitation, and your heart is racing, and you're all like amped up, and you're hyper aware of what's going on, and you're freaking out a little bit. What is it like when you're calm? You just kind of chill, right? You got like this low arousal state. Very, very difficult to go from a state of agitation and being all jacked up and excited and weirded out and to a kind of state. It doesn't work. It's like trying to stop a train by throwing a boulder on the tracks. It's going to make the train jump off the tracks. It's going to cause a disaster. In fact, they've proven in research that when you try to ignore your fears, it actually makes them worse. And they've also proven in research that positive thinking alone also can make your fears worse. So, what do you do? What do you do when you're about to go talk to your boss and you feel afraid? What do you do when you have to get on a plane and you're actually terrified of flying? What do you do if you got to give a presentation and you are afraid of public speaking? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to use a strategy, the same one that I use, that has helped me beat every single fear and turned me into somebody that is terrific when it comes to a high-stress situation. This is how you do it. You're going to use my 5-second rule in combination with what I call an anchor thought, and that is going to reframe what your mind is doing so that your mind goes from feeling agitation and making you afraid to reframing it from agitation to excitement. It works like magic. Now, I have used this technique for years, literally for years. And one of the ways that I want to introduce you to it is I want to take you backstage. I want to take you backstage to a speech that I delivered this year. And what you're going to see is you're going to see me behind, the major set. I'm about to walk out. You can kind of hear the crowd roaring. My introductory video is playing. My body is in a state of arousal. I am literally, my heart is racing, my arms are sweating. Like you're going to see this. I'm going to tell you about it. And you're going to watch me use this same technique I'm going to teach you to reframe my nerves into excitement. Check this out. All right, I'm about to go on stage. There are 7,000 people out there, and it's so exciting because what they don't know is they're about to learn the 5-second rule, and their lives will never be the same again. Now, I gotta tell you, my heart is racing. My armpits are sweating. I have the exact same physiological feeling as when I'm afraid, but I'm not afraid. I'm excited. Excitement and fear is the exact same thing in your body. It's just what your brain calls it. Here's a trick that's proven by science that I use every time I speak. When I start to sweat, when I start to have butterflies, when I start to have my heart race, I say, I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there. I'm excited to talk to these people. I'm excited to share the 5-second rule. And what that does is it sends a message to my brain that tells my brain why my body's all agitated and excited. And that way, I don't feel afraid. Remember, excitement and fear, exact same thing in your body. The only difference is what your brain calls it. Go get them. Now, I want to give you one more example, just to make sure that you really get how you can use this. So a lot of you have written to me about your fear of flying, and I can really relate to that fear because I used to have the exact same fear. But I use this same strategy to conquer it. Here's how you're going to do it. So first things first, if you've got to do something that really makes you nervous or that you're afraid to do, before you're about to do it, come up with an anchor thought. What's an anchor thought? Well, an anchor thought is something that's going to anchor you so that you don't escalate any situation into a full-blown panic attack or into a situation where you screw things up. It's a way for you to anchor yourself so you maintain control over what you're thinking and how you behave. So here's an example with flying. It's important when you're creating an anchor thought to pick something that is in the proper context of what you're afraid to do. So for flying, pick an anchor thought that has to do with the trip that you're taking. So if I'm boarding a plane to fly back home to Michigan, an anchor thought might be a picture in my mind of my mom and I walking on the shores of Lake Michigan where I grew up. That's a thought that makes me happy, it makes me excited, and it's also related to the trip that I'm taking. If you have a conversation that you need to have with your boss, pick an anchor thought about how you feel after having that conversation. Maybe it's you picking up the phone and calling somebody that you love and saying, "Oh my gosh, it went so well." Or, you walking out of the meeting and feeling like, "Yeah, I survived that conversation. I feel pretty good about myself." So now that you have your anchor thought, you're ready to beat the fear. How you're going to do it is this. So let's go back to the example of the plane. I'm on the plane, I'm flying to Michigan. We hit turbulence. My body's going to start getting agitated, right? I'm starting to get nervous. My heart starts to race. One of two things can happen. I can't control how my body might feel, but I can always control what I'm thinking about, and I can always control how I act. And so can you. So when I'm on a plane and the turbulence hits, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's step one. And it's essential. And the reason why using the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is essential is because that is how you switch the gears in your mind, you awaken your prefrontal cortex, and you trigger your brain that you're now in control of your thoughts. You've interrupted the fear. You've settled your thoughts, and now your brain is ready for that anchor thought. So then what I do after I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is I insert the anchor thought that I've already come up with before the flight. I start thinking about walking on the beach and being with my mom and my dad. And I start telling myself, I'm so excited to walk on the shores of Lake Michigan. I'm so excited to see my parents. Now something remarkable is going to happen in your brain. Because you've interrupted the fear, and because you've used the 5-second rule to assert control and awaken your prefrontal cortex, and because you have an image that contextually makes sense to your brain because you're flying to Michigan, you know what your brain does? Your brain goes, Mel's excited to go to Michigan because my body is in a state, remember the first fact? Fear and excitement, exact same thing. What's the difference between fear and excitement? What your brain is saying. Using the 5-second rule and an anchor thought, you can actually switch the gears in your mind and reframe the thoughts of fear into thoughts of excitement. And because you have a vision that makes sense based on what you're doing, your brain buys it. You just tricked your brain. Now, Dana used this technique. She says she's never been so calm when she's been flying. And Sarah used it too. Now, Sarah wrote to us, she was petrified of flying, but utilizing the 5-second rule and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with an anchor thought, check out this photo of her on a helicopter tour in Hawaii. Not only was the tour amazing, but here's what's really amazing. If fear stops you, this will change your life. And for those of you that are afraid of public speaking, check out this photo of Carol. She also had a fear of public speaking. And by using this technique that I've just explained to you, 5-second rule, anchor thought, reframe your thoughts from fear to excitement, something incredible happened. She was able to beat her fear and give a speech to her nursing colleagues. And that was something that was a life goal and also something she checked off her bucket list. Fear is real. You can't control the feelings that are going to rise up in your body when you're on a plane or when you're talking to your boss or when you see somebody that's attractive and you really want to go over and talk to that person. But you can always control what you think, and you can always make a decision about the actions you're going to take. So the next time you feel afraid, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Go to that anchor thought, tell yourself you're excited, and that, my friend, is the power of how you beat fear in 5 seconds flat. Do you know what the number one habit is that has the greatest impact on the quality of your life when it comes to happiness, success, wellness? The number one habit in personal development. I see meditation in the chat. Do you have a guess? Sleep, I see. Keep going, keep going. Your thoughts. Kristen's getting closer. The number, journaling, there's another one, belief, mindset, feelings, self-talk. The number one habit isn't gratitude, everyone. The number one habit that makes the biggest difference on the quality of your life is being kind to yourself. Being kind to yourself. And it is also the habit that we practice the least. And so I'll take it back to everything I've talked about. Sleep and prioritizing it is a way to be kind to yourself. If you love somebody, you want them to get a good night's sleep. It's why we make our kids go to bed, so that they can have a good night's sleep and wake up and be in a good mood. And by the way, the mood that you're in the morning impacts your productivity for the first 4 hours of the day, positive or negative. When you set the alarm intentionally, so that you are thinking about your needs and what waking up for yourself would look like the next morning, you're being kind to yourself. When you wake up for yourself, you get out of bed when that alarm rings, you put your hands on your heart and you say, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved, today's going to be a good day. You're being kind to yourself, you're being kind to your nervous system. When you make your bed for yourself as a gift to come back to tonight, beautiful place to lay down and sleep and dream and complete the day, you're being kind to yourself. When you give yourself a high five in the mirror, you don't just dismiss yourself or go, oh God, look at these saddlebag gels. Oh my God, this neck, my gray hair. And oh. When you do this instead, you're practicing kindness. When you write down 5 things that you want, you would want your friend to have the things that they want. You cheer for them. But when it comes to you, you don't do that for you. So these are all teeny little habits and behavior changes that allow you to practice not only putting yourself first and building a foundation upon which you can be successful and focused and productive based on the science, but it's so much deeper than that. It's really living your life in a way where you are giving to yourself the thing that you give so freely to everybody else and that you need the most. You're seeing yourself, you're hearing your needs, you're fulfilling your needs, and you're showing yourself the kindness that you deserve. And when you feel uplifted by you, there ain't nothing that's going to stop you. So let's stop there and let's take some questions. And I think it takes a minute because you got to unmute yourself when you come on with me.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Mel. Vicki here. I would like to know, how do you get back on track when someone else crashes your morning routine?
Okay, give me a specific example.
So this morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, my mom got out of bed. She has dementia, and she couldn't find her dog, who was laying in the bed right beside her. So that's about the time that I start my routine. You know, hadn't made my bed yet, hadn't washed my hair yet. And it was just really hard to get back on track today.
I'm sure. And it's probably also hard given that she has dementia because you can't predict when that's going to happen.
Correct.
So let's go to the kindness piece, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Being kind to yourself, in my opinion, is also accepting life as it is and not making yourself wrong for the things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis to deal with your life as it is. See, we all have expectations, and I think there's a lot. I think that there are times where personal development can equal an attempt to be perfect. And that's not what I believe at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all works in progress. I think unless you want to be a monk and live on your own, there's no way that you're going to be able to be in control every single day of your life. And that the skill, truly, everyone, is to ride the up and down waves of life and not have those waves that come crashing over take you down and leave you in a down.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we want to be more like the raft that's riding the waves. And what takes you down even further when your mom who has dementia gets up and it really just, you know, blows a hole in the way that your day is supposed to start is you mentally then start to beat yourself up for the fact that it didn't go how you wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the real skill in life, because there's always going to be ups and downs, everybody, always. And you don't want it any other way, because confidence, resilience, courage, it's like steel. It's forged in fire. Even in those low moments, you've got the biggest opportunity to build your confidence, to build your resilience. Resilience is the ability to not let your emotions hijack you when life happens. It's the ability to ride the waves. And you have a particular reality that I don't have right now. You have a mother with dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And accepting that that is going to derail certain things and learning how to be kind with yourself and allow yourself to ride that wave without making it mean I suck, I blew it, today sucks, we're off the rails, I might as well not wash my hair, I might as well not make the phone call. Now that this one thing happened, the whole thing is screwed. The real thing is, okay, we're off track for a half an hour and I only have 5 minutes now. What's the one thing I could do to ground myself? And I'm going to tell you what the one thing is. Put your hands on your heart. You've just dealt with this issue with your mom. It's upsetting because she's got dementia, which is upsetting, I'm sure. You put your hands on your heart, you go, I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. Today is still going to be a good day.
Mm-hmm.
And then high five yourself in the mirror and get back out there. And skip the part where you make yourself wrong. Okay?
If you want to change your life, it begins right here. Every single morning, there is a powerful skill that I want you to learn. It's simple, it's not easy, and here it is. When that alarm rings, you have got to get out of bed. Look, I know there's a million reasons not to get out of bed. Right now, this morning, I can think of a bunch. It's 40 degrees, raining, disgusting, cold, depressing outside. I feel tired. My bones feel heavy. I have a lot of work to do, and it's stressing me out a little bit. None of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters when it comes to changing your life is, can you keep a promise to yourself? Can you keep a promise to yourself when it feels uncomfortable? Can you keep a promise to yourself when suddenly you don't want to? Can you keep a promise to yourself when it'd be easier not to? That is the core skill that you need to change any area of your life, because change doesn't require motivation. It requires discipline. You need the discipline to do what you said you were going to do. And I want you to think about this. When you set an alarm, setting an alarm the night before is an act of making a promise to yourself. Setting an alarm, which I do, I get up between 6:15 and 6:45 every day. I am making a promise to myself that I am going to get up when that alarm rings. And if I can't keep a promise to myself because I don't feel like it, I'm cranky, I'm not a morning person, whatever the hell your excuse is, you're not going to be able to keep promises to yourself in any area of your life where you feel uncomfortable, where it's easier to avoid conflict, where you succumb to your excuses, where you soothe yourself instead of pushing through. And I mean this. All change happens the same way, with discipline. All change begins with the decision to change. All change begins with making and keeping promises. So regardless of what you're working on, if you're working on boundaries, if you're working on saying no, if you're working on pushing yourself through discomfort, You can start to practice the skill of showing up for yourself no matter what by simply setting the alarm the night before for when the time you actually need to get up. And when that time comes and that alarm rings and it's time to keep that promise, no matter what you're feeling, your number one job is to keep that promise to yourself. You start to practice this skill of setting the alarm and looking at it as a promise that you're making to yourself. And when that alarm rings, not succumbing to your excuses or your feelings of discomfort, but actually getting up and keeping that promise, you start to do that, your whole life will change. And the reason why is all change is the same. It's about making and keeping small promises. And the more that you do it in one area of your life, the easier it's going to be for you to do it in any other area of your life. Trust me, it's exactly how I've changed my life. I started here. Alarm rings, get out of bed, start your day, go.
You're thinking way too big. Way too big. When you think of passion and purpose, you're like, I gotta find my passion. I gotta live it out. I gotta figure out my legacy. I gotta live a life of purpose. I gotta figure the thing out. It's like gonna be my career. No, that's not it at all, everybody. Let me tell you a story. So I have a daughter. I think I've talked about her before. She's a junior at the University of Southern California. She is a singer-songwriter. And she got into this crazy program at the Thornton School of Music at USC to study, get this, being a pop music singer-songwriter. There's 24 kids in the program. There were only 2 singer-songwriters accepted. She was one of them. This kid basically earned her way in to like winning American Idol. She's working with all these winning artists, blah, 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 blah. She is so focused on this big fear and this big dream. The big dream is having a career as a singer-songwriter. She literally said to me a couple months ago, Mom, I actually see it. I can see myself in a stadium. I can see people singing along. I can see that this happens. And then she says, but I'm paralyzed because what if it doesn't happen? What if I'm not good enough? What if I try and I don't make it? She is so focused on the big dream and the big fear, everybody, that she's not living with a sense of purpose every single day. And she's not bringing the energy by doing things that she's passionate about into every single day. I want you to stop right now. Let's just make an agreement, everybody. You are going to stop right now thinking about purpose as your career. You are going to stop thinking that passion and purpose is your legacy. The thing that will change your mind is if you were to wake up every day and ask yourself a simple question. What can I do to feel a little more energized today? And what would it mean to live with a little more purpose today? I want you to think about purpose and passion as something you practice on a daily basis. That gives you room to have it change on a daily basis. Because if we take my daughter Kendall's situation, for example, if she were to wake up every morning, and we've been having these discussions, if she were to wake up every morning and ask herself, how can I feel a little more energized today? I guarantee you she would either say, I could get outside and go for a run. She could say, I'm going to spend 20 minutes working on a chord projection. I can't even say the word progression for a song I'm writing. I could reach out to this place I want to intern this summer. I could reach out to a friend and make a lunch date. She's bringing energy into her life by thinking about it and then doing it. And if she asks herself, how could I live with a little bit greater sense of purpose today? By simply shrinking it to your day-to-day, it makes it accessible and it makes you something that you practice, which makes you more connected to it. And I got to tell you, what's so cute is that, when I wake up in the morning, I always text all three of our kids because we're in this kind of zone in life where, Kendall's in Los Angeles, Sawyer's in downtown Boston, our son is going to high school in Vermont. I'm often in between Vermont and Boston, or I'm traveling for work. And I always text them every morning when I wake up. And this morning I texted Kendall. And it was 6 o'clock in the morning. And I said, good morning. I hope you had an awesome night last night because you deserve it. I can't wait to see you this Sunday. She texted back immediately, everybody, at 3 o'clock in the morning, LA time. Mom, you're going to die. And I'm like, uh-oh, was she arrested? What the hell happened? And she goes, I'm writing a song with Michael. Michael's this kid in her program who is like a super uber genius. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait. It's 3 a.m. Go to bed. She's like, I can't. I'm so excited. I'm doing that purpose thing. And then she sends me a photo from 3 o'clock in the morning where she's sitting behind Michael as he's the producer mixing up the bass track on this thing that they just wrote. And she's like, Mom, this works. I've been thinking about just how can I be more purposeful every day? And this morning I said, I'm going to ask Michael if he'll help me finish this song. I texted him and now we're working on it. See? Absolutely love it. If she were to sit in that intellectual wasteland going, what's my purpose? Am I going to get to the arena? How do I live with purpose? No, everybody. Final mistake, and this is the most important one. Stop thinking so big. Let's think really small because remember, it's the little things that are everything. And this little question I want you to ask yourself every single morning. What can I do to feel more energized today? And how can I live with a greater sense of purpose today? That will change your ability to bring more purpose into your life, to stay connected to it, and to bring more energy and passion into your day-to-day life. So today's training is all about the anxiety, the overwhelm, the fear that so many of you feel based on the belief that you have run out of time, that you don't have enough time, that the time for X, Y, or Z, to go and be a veterinarian, to go to medical school, to launch that business, to leave your wife or husband that you can't stand anymore, to do whatever it is that you've always thought about doing or you've been thinking about doing, that you've somehow convinced yourself that you don't have enough time. And I'm here to tell you that is complete and utter BS. You are in control of the one thing that everybody cares about, that everybody complains about, and everybody's trying to steal from you, and that is your time. And in fact, if you're worried about not having enough time, let me tell you something that I know about you. You're not using your time effectively. You're not being deliberate about how you're spending your time. And the problem isn't time and whether or not you have enough of it. The problem is you're not being completely selfish, deliberate, and just in control of how you're spending it. You're letting other people distract you. You're letting your negative beliefs distract you. And so that's got to stop today. Because here's the truth. Whether you're 70 or you're 77, you have plenty of time to start working toward the things that you care about. And what's so interesting is I'm wearing a shirt right now. Don't you love this shirt? I love this shirt. It's made by a woman named Renee. What's her last name? Bazzetti, here in Seattle. And I love her story. Mandy and I were just over. She hand makes these shirts, and I had no idea what her backstory was. She left her husband at the age of what, 46?
44, yeah.
At the age of 44 with two kids.
Court for 2 years.
She left her husband at the age of 44, had 2 kids. She was in court for 2 years. She literally went from being in her home overnight to literally moving in the middle of the night to her own apartment. And she had no idea what she was going to do. And she just told us, she said, at the age of 46, her attorneys told her only 1% of women actually find the gumption to leave a situation like the one that she was in. And most women don't leave because they don't know what they're going to do. They figure, oh my God, I'm so old. I don't have time to figure this out. What am I going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Like the same kind of anxiety. Well, she left and she told us that the best thing that ever happened to her is that her husband kicked her rear end in divorce court. And she literally left that proceeding with just about nothing. And so she was forced to figure out, what am I going to do with the rest of the time that I have? I'm 46 years old, and there's plenty of women out there and men out there that think, oh my God, at the age of 46, I don't have enough time left. Are you kidding me? I'm 50. I'm just getting started. As far as I'm concerned, I've got the rest of my life to figure out what I want to do and to work towards what I want to do. And so she basically, for 3 years, started working on making a shirt. It was the thing that she was interested in. And so this is the most important thing I need you to understand. Telling yourself you don't have time, it's a habit. Telling yourself you don't have time is an excuse. If you're telling yourself that the time has passed for you to go become a veterinarian, that's somebody's comment that I saw today on Instagram. If you're telling yourself that the time has passed for you to build a business, that the time has passed for you to do whatever it is, here's what I know about you. You're just afraid. You're just afraid of taking the step. And it's a lot easier to use the excuse that you don't have time. Because if you tell yourself you don't have time, guess what? You're not going to find the time, and you're not going to force yourself to make the time to make working on that dream a priority. You know, one of the things that I wear right now is my little My Intent bracelet, this little thing, and my word for the year is deliberate. And when it comes to time, you have to be deliberate because you have plenty of time. It's a matter of whether or not you're being deliberate about how you're using it. And that's the thing that you have to stop. You got to stop giving your time away. You got to stop wasting your time with people you don't care about. You got to stop wasting time listening to the excuses from the past. They don't apply. You can make anything happen if you just start putting in the work. And that's going to require you to get deliberate about making the time to do the work. And you can do the work that you need to do to change your life 10 minutes a day. That's it. Start working 10 minutes a day. Start taking an online course. Start investigating going back to school. Start following people that inspire you around launching your own business. You have time. So stop with the habit of telling yourself you don't. Do we have any questions, Mandy?
Yeah, we do. From Diane on Facebook. It's a good one.
Diane on Facebook.
She wants to go to school to learn sign language to be an interpreter.
Great.
Her daughter's a junior in high school, and she wants to know if she should wait until her daughter graduates.
No. Okay, so she wants to know if she should wait until her daughter graduates to go back to school. Absolutely not. Let me tell you something, parents. The only way your kids are going to learn how to pursue their dreams and their goals is if you model it. Do you want your daughter to be the kind of adult female, to be a woman that puts everybody else's needs ahead of her? Do you want your daughter to start to think the same lies that we were all trained to believe, that there is a time to do certain thing and a right time? The only right time is now. The only right time to really push yourself to make a change is right now. And so what your daughter is going to learn when she sees you going back to school and she sees you managing your time so that you're focused on priorities that matter to you is she's going to be learning the skill of doing it for herself. It's one of the best things that you could possibly do. My mother did this when I was in 9th grade. She opened up a retail store when I was in 9th grade. She opened up a kitchen retail store, and it was the coolest thing to see my mom pursuing something that was important to her. It was the coolest thing to see my mom launch her own business and to realize, wow, you know, I want to be that kind of person. And I can be a great mom, and I can also have a business. And the way your kids learn that kind of thing is they watch you do it.
And now, how do they start to shift for those that are ready?
Okay, great. So if you are sick and tired of beating yourself up, if you are sick and tired of focusing on what's not working, if you are sick and tired of the self-doubt and the self-criticism and the self-hatred, this is a game changer. And I only learned this 18 months ago. So despite all of my success, Koya, on the outside, being me was this weird mix of having positive outbursts of energy and enthusiasm in the moment, combined with a deep, relentless, grinding internal voice that was critical, that had a lot of self-hatred, that was constantly making me feel like the world was aimed at me and that I was screwing everything up.
Yeah.
That was my experience. And I think that is the majority of people's experiences. That no matter how good it looks on the outside, the majority of human beings who are adults either can't look at themselves in the mirror, and this was a huge wake-up call in researching the high five habit. 50% of men and women, and this is not a blind, double research, PhD-backed study. This is looking at hundreds of thousands of people that are taking the high five challenge. This is looking at, the millions of people that follow me and the feedback that we're getting. 50% of the people that first try to do this high five habit, which I'll explain in just a second, report that they can't even look at themselves in the mirror. There is so much self-hatred,
Right.
or disgust, or judgment. It is so sad. And I am on a mission to wake everybody up and to teach everybody a fundamental, simple habit that unlocks science in your brain and in your nervous system to help you break the habit of self-rejection and self-hatred and self-doubt.
Right.
And that's where the high five habit comes in. And so the high five habit is very simple. First, I'm going to explain it, and then we can kind of unpack it however you think will benefit everybody that's listening. So all you're going to do is you're going to stand in front of the bathroom mirror, and I want this to become part of your morning routine. And there's lots of science around why I want you to do in the morning. We can get to that in a minute. But you're just going to stand in front of your bathroom mirror, and I want you to take a moment, and I want you to look at the human being in the mirror. And that right there is a complete change from what you're doing right now. Because what you're doing right now when you stand in front of the mirror and you brush your teeth, or you stand in front of the mirror and you get ready for your day, is you either ignore yourself, you won't even look at yourself. That's a form of self-rejection.
Right.
Or you focus on all the things that you need to fix. Your hair, your makeup, the things you don't like. And so you start your day with a habit in your morning routine of rejecting yourself. And that habit of self-rejection has created the insecurity that you feel.
Yeah.
That habit of self-rejection is what drives your need for validation externally. That habit of self-rejection is why you think you're only worthy if somebody else says that you're worthy. And so the high five habit is all about using science to break the habit of self-rejection and replace it with a habit of self-empowerment, self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love. And here's how you do it. You're just going to stand there. You're going to look at the person in the mirror. And notice I'm not saying reflection.
Right.
There are two people in the bathroom every morning. There's you, and there's a human being in the mirror who has been waiting for you to wake up and realize that they're there. They are trying. They are doing their best. They are so beaten down by your relentless criticism. They need you. They need you to see the positive. They need you to compliment them. They need to be kind to them.
Yeah.
And so I want you to take that in for a minute, because you're staring at your soul, at your spirit, at your essence, at your humanity. And most of us have never actually considered that. I hadn't. And then what I want you to do is I want you to just reflect for a second as you look at that human being. What does she or he or they need from me today? Something you've never asked yourself. Because right now, what your morning routine is that you drift into your day and you start thinking about everybody else. What do you need to do for everybody else?
Right.
What's all the things on your to-do list? You have skipped the most important person And that's the human being in the mirror. And I want you to literally stop and ask yourself, what do he, or they need from me? And it might be, I need you to have some freaking fun. I need you to stop being a bitch. I need you to like be a little more positive here. I need you to like, reach out to some people.
Yeah.
And ask for some help. Something will pop in your mind.
Yeah.
And then take a deep breath. And then as cheesy as it sounds, I want you to raise your hand and I want you to high five that human being in the mirror. And something crazy is going to happen. So this is why this is so revolutionary. Regardless of how weird the high five habit feels, regardless of how much you may resist it, regardless of how kind of corny it is, you will immediately feel your mood shift because your brain doesn't know the difference between high-fiving somebody else and high-fiving yourself.
That's what I love about it. I love that it's so simple and silly because we need to play more.
Yes. And so when you give somebody a high five, Koya, what does the high five communicate?
Yes, we got this. You're awesome. Just love.
Yes.
Basically, it communicates love.
It does. You're right. And it communicates a lot of different forms of love.
Yeah.
So it could be a high five that's really like encouraging, like, I see this is hard. You got this.
Yeah.
It could be shake it off. Keep going. It could be, I love you. It believe in you. We're together. It's partnership. It's like this massive, wonderful feeling of love. You have never high-fived somebody and thought, I hate you. I hope you fail.
Yeah.
You're ugly. You're worthless. Like, you've never done it. And so you can stand before yourself in the bathroom mirror and hate the person you see. Yeah. But the second you physically raise your arm and you do the motion that you've done your whole life, your brain shuts off all thinking and it taps into the programming in your mind that says, I believe in you. I love you. I see you. Keep going. And then you feel this boost in your mind because, and in your mood, every time somebody else is giving you a high five, your brain has released dopamine. That's why high fives feel so good.
Yeah.
The other reason why a high five feels so good is because your nervous system recognizes it as somebody celebrating you. And so you get this affirming life energy that jolts through your body. And so your brain, again, and your nervous system doesn't know the difference between me high-fiving you and me high-fiving myself. So even on my lowest days, Koya, when I high-five myself, I get a dopamine drip.
Yeah.
And I get this nervous system boosting the energy. And that's why it feels so good. We are using programming in you and aiming it back at you so that you have the benefit of belief, of self-love, of positive mental programming, of dopamine, and of a jolt through your nervous system. It's freaking bananas.
It's amazing. Yeah. I love that. I love that it's so simple. I love giving myself a high five. And I love something that you say. You say, and I don't know if this is your quote or something from someone else, but you say, the way you view yourself is the way you view the world.
It's true.
That's powerful.
It's true. Well, let's talk about people pleasing. So many of us struggle with people pleasing. Well, people pleasing for a long time, I thought people pleasing was about like making other people like me. That's what you're doing, but that's actually not the source of people pleasing. People pleasing is not about the need to be liked by other people.
Right.
People pleasing results from you not liking yourself. So people pleasing is about you and your self-hatred and your insecurity.
Wow.
Yes.
That's going to wake a lot of people up.
What did you just get from that?
People pleasing is more about how you feel about yourself than how you feel about others.
Correct. Because here's the thing. If you like yourself, even though you're not where you are, even though if you like yourself, even if you don't like where you are in your life right now, if you can still look in the mirror and see a person who's trying, a person who's worthy of support, a person that you're going to root for, a person that you like because you deep down know, even though you're way more than you want to, even though you don't have the money you want, even though you're not in a relationship yet, whatever it is that you've been bashing yourself for, if you can look in the mirror and see somebody you genuinely like because you know deep down they're a good person and they're trying and they've survived a lot and they are a person that's worthy of being liked because you know who they are at their core. If you can feel that way about yourself and treat yourself that way by giving yourself a high five. That's how you demonstrate that you like yourself. When you go out into the world, if somebody doesn't like you, it does not take away from the fact that you still like yourself.
Right.
If you treat yourself with respect and somebody out in the world disrespects you, that will not change the fact that you still treat yourself with respect.
Right.
The core problem is that most of us look in the mirror and reject the person that we see. And then we bring that insecurity out into the world. And we are looking at lovers and bosses and friends and family to then make us feel secure or make us feel loved, when the root problem is we don't love and like ourselves. And so we got to bring all of that back in house.
Right.
Using the high five habit, you can show yourself, demonstrate to yourself, and practice what a person who likes and loves and respects themselves does, which is they wake up every day and they treat themselves with loving kindness. And the best part for me about the high five habit is you actually don't have to say a word. And in fact, I recommend that for the first 5 days you don't. Because your self-critic and your brain programming is so negative and relentless, and it's been in there for decades, that I want you to feel the benefit of the science.
Right.
I want you to just stand there and look the human being in the eyes in the mirror. And I want you to raise your hand and notice what you're feeling. You can't help but crack a smile after you do this for a couple days because of the dopamine.
Right.
You can't help but shift how you see yourself because of the nervous system wiring. We've had reports back now from people who have said this really interesting thing. They've said, you know how can you recall a time in your life where you actually remember getting high fives?
Yeah.
When was it? Can you describe it? Put us at the
Basketball.
scene. Okay, put us right at the scene.
Oh, yeah. So playing basketball, I mean, that is the best place for high fives. High school, I mean, for a whole year, I rode the bench. But when I actually started getting rebounds, making points, high five. The more high fives I got, the better I got, because it boosted my confidence in myself.
Correct. And, there's a study actually with the NBA that proves this.
Yeah.
So they took a look at NBA teams. Researchers did. I think this was in 2011. There's a massive article in the Wall Street Journal about this, as well as a published academic study. They looked at NBA teams. And do you know you can predict what teams are going to have the winningest record at the end of the season by looking at behavior in the preseason? And the behavior that predicts whether or not an NBA team is going to have a winning season or not is the number of pats on the back, fist bumps, and high fives that a team gives one another in the preseason.
Wow.
Because just as you said, based on your lived, felt experience, playing basketball, being in high school, being on a team, feeling the encouragement, the momentum, the support. High fives aren't gestures. They communicate trust and partnership and belief. So when you high five a teammate, you're communicating, we're in this, I believe in you, shake off that shot, even though you're on the bench, you're a valued member of this team, keep trying, keep going. And the corresponding data about the teams with the worst record was also true. They had the least number of pats on the back and fist bumps and high fives. Why? Well, when every player's in it for themselves, it creates distrust and selfishness.
Right.
And so by high-fiving yourself in the mirror, you can create that same partnership with yourself, and that same momentum starts to get created every single morning when you send yourself into the game of life every day, the way you would send yourself back into the game of basketball after having a team huddle.
I love that. And it actually brings me to one of the most important pillars of Get Loved Up, which is spirituality. And I kind of want to dive into spirituality with you because I feel like giving that high five is bringing people back into divine alignment with themselves.
Okay, say that again, because that is exactly right.
Giving that high five is bringing people back into alignment with themselves, with spirit, with the universe, with God. Because that negative self-talk is taking you out of alignment with love, out of alignment with spirit. And so that one act, because I know you say habits, I say ritual. We have so many different language, but what I feel when I give myself a high five and when I practice that positive self-talk is alignment with spirit.
1,000%. So all of the negative talk, like remember, let's go back to the two human beings in the bathroom, you and the human being in the mirror.
Yeah.
The negative self-talk stands between you two. And when you go to raise your hand and high five yourself, it is a moment of divinity with yourself, with your universe, with the spirit, with God, with whatever you believe in. You will feel that energy if you allow yourself to. You will feel yourself coming home. You will feel yourself stepping back into alignment with who you truly are in your essence, which is a being that is worthy of love, a being that is worthy of support simply because you exist.
Yeah.
Like today is my 53rd birthday. And when I think about birthdays, right, what are you actually celebrating?
Right.
You're celebrating life. You're celebrating your breath. You're celebrating the fact that you're still here.
Yeah.
And there is something divine about that. And every single morning, if you make the high five habit a ritual that starts your day, you are also bringing the celebration of your life and your existence into your morning. And the thing that I love about this, because, I love gratitude and I love meditation, and these are extraordinary practices that with documented benefit. I'm married to somebody who's a Buddhist meditation instructor and a certified yoga instructor.
I love Chris.
Yeah, Chris is just awesome. And interesting thing about Chris, though, is that here he is practicing every single day. He is a disciplined guy, right? Meditating daily for probably 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Meditation teaches you self-awareness, and it teaches you how to not react to thoughts. It doesn't change the default opinion that you have about yourself. Gratitude, if you look at what most of us write down when we practice gratitude, it is external. It is rarely something within you. And what I love about the high five habit and why this simple ritual is so divine and spiritual is because it is about reconnection with self. It is and will. What I've experienced after doing this now for over a year is when I step into the bathroom, I don't even need to high five myself. I still do.
Right.
But what's happened over this repetitive ritual of raising my hand in celebration, encouragement, empathy, support, and love to myself every morning, no matter where I am, where I'm waking up, how I feel, just part of how I begin the day, is over time, because of the science, it has reset my mind.
Right.
I don't even see a person I would ever criticize. I don't even see my face. I just see this human being that I love.
That's beautiful. And I think with meditation, with the high five, with these rituals, it gives us the time to come back to center. And people use things in different ways.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it is the opportunity to come back to center, to kind of crowd out the noise.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but all those unhealthy habits that you really know you need to change are contributing to this and this disconnection. And a lot of my work is focused on the fact that it's all about the little things, that one decision can change the trajectory of your life, that all the little decisions that you make have this extraordinary ripple effect in a positive direction. The same is true about negative decisions. I guarantee you, if you right now are part of the 89% of people who say that they feel stuck, I guarantee you your morning routine is off. I guarantee you the simple things that bring you energy, you're not doing them. It never fails in my life, everybody. Never fails. The moment I feel off, the moment that I feel disconnected from purpose, the moment I feel passion just fly right out the window, if I take a look at all the little things I'm doing every day, it's not the stuff that actually sets me up for success. In life, we focus so much on the big stuff that we forget that your life is the little things. Your life is the little things, everybody. And if you focus on just getting the little things right, The big things always take care of themselves. And if you really look at all the little decisions that you make, sleeping in, drinking too much, not journaling, hanging out with people that bring you down, putting up with the bare minimum, not having boundaries, eating crap, not moving your body, spending too much time on your phone, all that stuff leads you in a direction that you didn't intend to go. The positive works the exact same way. And so really underestimating the power of the little unhealthy or negative or destructive decisions that you make or habits that you have, that's a major mistake.
What are the simple things that you can do in order to establish some new habits so that you bring the small discipline that you need, the micro moves that actually make your biggest dreams come true? And for those of you that have been following me for a while, some of this will be a refresher, some of this will be new. This week is all about how you change the small things in your day-to-day life. Hacks, tools, small habits that will help you stay on track. And the thing is that these are habits that whenever I'm not cranking, when I'm not cooking with fire, when I feel like I'm going off track, guarantee, every time I feel that way, I have dropped these small habits out of my own life. And so it's important for everybody to get a refresher. So let me tell you what we're going to do this week. This week, tomorrow, Tuesday, you're going to get an email with a link to, is it a document?
It's a template.
To a template that you can print out that is a list of all my favorite hacks. Every one of them. All the things that help me stay on track. All the things that are mindset tricks. All of the stuff that I do whenever I feel like I'm going off course. All of the little promises that when I keep them, my life works out. And the other assignment for this week is you're going to turn to page 33 in your workbook. This is where week 4 kicks off. And guess what it looks like? Exactly what the other days look like. Why? Because we're training you around the importance of dreaming big. We're teaching you the skill of being able to imagine what's not possible and to fight your limiting belief and your self-doubt as you start to shrink it. And so you're going to continue to write down your 5 big dreams. And interesting thing, since we started doing this at the beginning of January, 4 of my dreams have stayed the same. But by writing it down every single day, I'm getting more and more clarity around the next chapter of the business that I want to build, because I am forcing myself to dream big. I'm forcing myself to write about it every day. And there are some days that I've written it down. I'm like, that's not really specific. Oh, that doesn't really feel right. Oh, there's something off about it. And in the practice of just opening this up and writing your 5 dreams down every day, something interesting is happening in my mind. I am noticing my own limiting beliefs, my own self-doubt, my own shitty excuses starting to melt away. And I'm seeing my mind go, well, why didn't you write it even bigger? Why not dream bigger? Why not, Mel? And I am starting to see a breakthrough for myself in my ability to write down things that feel impossible right now and really feel grounded in the desire to want to achieve them. The other thing you've got down here are places for notes. And, I have insights every day as I'm doing this program. One of them I've already shared with you, that if I want to get to the next level in terms of the kind of company I want to create, there is a dream team of advisors that I need to surround myself with. Very big insight. I'm sure you're having the same one. I'm also noticing that not drinking the month of January, I had a beer like a week ago. I wasn't cheating. I literally was like, I'm just going to have a beer. Other than that, not drinking has been huge for me. Exercising every morning, except for last week when I was deathly ill, has been enormous for me. And I also am realizing that I'm on the move so much and I'm creating so much because I host this talk show that I need more quiet time that is intentional quiet time. I'm not talking about quiet time while I'm commuting. I'm talking about taking time to sit down, to quiet the noise, and to tune into what my intuition is telling me. So as a preview to the long list of hacks and tools that you're going to get tomorrow that are free, I want to walk you through something that we're sending you today. So this is the 5-second journal. We created this a year and a half ago. I'm super proud of this. We put a ton of energy and effort and thought into this journal. For the price, it's $30, which means on Amazon it's probably closer to $21. This thing is so valuable. Look at how thick this is, first of all. Secondly, it's designed so that it can fold back on itself and lie flat. It fits in a purse, a backpack. It's not branded with all kinds of crap on it, so you're not going to be embarrassed if you pull it out of a business meeting. And this is the science-backed journaling method that I use. Now, I want to be very clear. Don't buy this. You do not need to buy this. The reason why you don't need to buy this, because I promised you I'm not trying to jam anything down your throat, is because today we are sending you an email with a link to a free template that you can download. It is a template of the inside of this page, and you can see that I have filled it out today. This is the journaling method that I developed, that people around the world are using, that is based in science that and research that we have pulled from Harvard Business School, from the University of Delaware, from the University of Florida, from Caltech. It leverages things like the progress principle and the Zeigarnik effect. These are all very fancy words that means there are small things that you can do to tweak your mind and boost your productivity and take control. So today, for example, you start off with the fuel gauge, which is you measuring your energy. I circled middle of the range, which is like meh. And then you go over here and say, well, why do you feel this way? Well, I've got some big news that's hitting this week, and I have no idea how it's going to play out, so that makes me feel uncertain. Kobe's death has certainly stirred a bunch of stuff inside of me personally and as a parent. And people around me right now are stressed. And as you've learned in this course, energy is contagious. And so that's why I woke up today and my energy was like, meh. So the reason why you assess your energy is because if you boost your energy first thing, it impacts your productivity all day. And so to feel more energized, what can I do? Because if you wake up feeling, you're going to feel out of control. Well, there's things I can do. I can take time for myself today. I can listen to music. I can call somebody that makes me laugh. All things that will boost my energy immediately. In fact, just scheduling in the time ahead today to do those things will boost my energy immediately. That's important because it snaps my mind back in focus despite what's going on around me and helps me take control of my day. Then we jump down here to the Harvard Business School section and the progress principle. Today, my top project is staying optimistic. Now notice, it's not something physical that I'm doing. It's something mental that I'm doing. Why is staying optimistic important to me? This matters to me because my mindset is something I can control despite what's going on around me. The post we put up on social media today is all about optimism. Optimism isn't just throwing your hands in the air and creating and brushing everything with a positive lens. Optimism is telling yourself that regardless of what's happening around you, you can impact the outcome based on your attitude and your effort. And I believe that. I truly believe that. One small action I can take to move forward and be more optimistic, breathe, journal. When I feel myself stressing out, take a deep breath and remind myself that regardless of what happens, I will move forward. That it's not an ending, it's not a beginning, it's always a continuation in life, always. Why does this matter to me? Or other thoughts? Well, that energy is contagious, and to really keep my force field up this week because people are so stressed. And today, I'm grateful for my family. If there's nothing else that Kobe's tragic death and his daughter and the other family should remind you of, is that life is fucking fragile. And if you're feeling it today, make sure that you double down on expressing your love and your gratitude for the people who are in your life that mean something to you.
So if you stand every morning and can't stare at yourself because you think you're worthless or whatever, and let's say you oversleep and you missed a dentist appointment. Who hasn't done that, right? Yeah. I certainly have. Yeah. If you're somebody that has good self-esteem, you go, oh, shoot, I missed the dentist appointment. I'm going to have to pay the $25 fee. I guess I'll just reschedule it, right? Mm-hmm. If you're somebody who has really low self-esteem, you go, see, you can't do anything right. You can't make it to the dentist. Everything in your life becomes evidence that you're a piece of shit. Everything in your life becomes evidence that you are doing things wrong. You see, the difference between me having done all this work on myself, therapy, EMDR, psychedelic guided therapy sessions, all of the high five habits, learning how to regulate my nervous system, dealing with childhood trauma. The difference between where I am now and where I used to be is I screw up shit all the time. I don't hook you're a piece of shit to it anymore. I'm able to allow myself to screw up and go, good people do have bad days. I'm doing my best.
Right.
I'll just pay the $25 and reschedule.
Right. And you don't hold on to it.
Correct.
Right.
Hold on to it. Most of us pour it all over ourselves. We just bathe in it. Mm-hmm. And so meaningful mantras, I should have called them pathetic mantras, you're right, are literally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, interrupt that thought. I'm a bad person. Mm-hmm. I screw everything up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about it. And then you can insert something like, hey, I'm doing the best I can and I'm getting better every day. Hey, I'm doing the best I can. That's not exactly woo, we're going to run the Ironman kind of talk. But meaningful talk is something you can believe.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I like that. Again, and then,
I can see your wheels turning. You're like, oh my God.
I am, because because it's so refreshing, and I really enjoy when people actually give you the hows, not just this is why it's happening and go on and on and on. But these are all, and this is in this book and in your other book, tangible. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, you want to get your mental health in order and you want to have better self-worth and self-love. Here's what you do. Stop sleeping with your phone so it's not next to you when you wake up. That way, when you wake up, you'll get out of bed and you won't look at social media.
Where do you put the phone? Do you keep it downstairs?
I charge it in my bathroom.
You do? Okay. So, and what time are you off? What time are you off the phone at night?
Depends on the day. I mean, I don't do what's called the gray zone. So the reason why people are so screwed up right now is because you're living in what psychologists call the gray zone, which is you're never not working, which is your phone.
That's true.
You're and never not, it's always on you. Mm-hmm. And so you never have a break, ever.
That's true.
And there's no separation between work and life. And your life, there's not going to be balance, but there can be harmony and there can be boundaries. And so one of the things that I have that's really helped me, because I love what I do for a living. It doesn't even feel like work.
Right.
I could be on my phone 24 hours a day. I'd never see my husband or my children, but I could be on my phone 24 hours a day. I have a basket in the kitchen. So I use a lot of environmental triggers to help me cheat good behavior. So an example of an environmental trigger is a basket in the kitchen that has plugs at it. So when I get home, I put my phone in the kitchen. A lot of times you can't reach me because it's sitting in the basket. It's not on me.
Right. You can't see it.
Correct.
It's in the basket.
Correct. So keeping it away from you is really important, because here's the thing. You're never going to be successful if you're on your phone 24/7. Never. You're going to always be busy and mistake it for success. If you want to be wildly successful, you better get strategic and smart. And it is not smart to let this thing use you. You need to be the one using it. And so I put it in the basket in the kitchen when I'm home, because we don't have phones when we're having a family dinner. And it would, I just celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary. And thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the phone has been one of our biggest fights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just being distracted and not present with each other. So that's helped a lot. When I go to bed, it's in the bathroom. And for everybody that's worried because you're a single parent or you've got a job that you work a shift that you need to be available, no problem. Tell people, call me if you need me, and leave the ringer on. But tell them if you text me, I'm not going to respond. It's amazing. People will text you in the middle of the night, but they won't call you unless it's an emergency. So that way you ensure that you get a good night's sleep because you're not sitting there going to bed watching it or scrolling through it. Then when you wake up and the alarm rings, you have to get out of bed because it's in the bathroom. When you walk toward the bathroom, you have enough presence now to know that you're going to turn it off and flip it over. And now you've got a fighting chance to have the first 30 minutes of the day be for you. You're going to brush your teeth. You're going to stand in front of the mirror and you're going to have a moment with yourself where you're going to think about who you're going to be today. You're going to think about what's important to you today. And then you're going to raise your hand and you're going to high five yourself. And the other thing that happens and why this is so powerful, in addition to the subconscious programming, I just spent a ton of time with Dr. Daniel Amen, one of the world's leading experts.
He was on
you know.
here. Yep.
And he said he was so excited about the high five habit, not only because of all the stuff with neurobics, which is marrying, neuroscience and neural pathways with aerobic activity. It's the fastest way to build new neural pathways, by the way. He was also super excited about it because when you cross a finish line, you raise your hands in the air. When the band that you love comes out, you raise your hands in the air. When you go to high five or double high five somebody, you raise your hands in the air. When you pat somebody on the back, you lift your arms in the air. The lifting, whether it's a high five or a fist bump or whatever, is coded into your nervous system as a positive rush. Remember how we talked about that anxiety rush?
Yes.
This is a positive energy force.
Right.
And so one of the reasons why it feels good if you can push through the fact that it feels weird and you try it for more than 5 days is because your nervous system starts to jump in. The other thing that happens is you get a drip of dopamine.
Yeah.
And that is why you suddenly feel a little lighter. You feel a little boost in your mood. You feel your shoulders drop. You feel like, okay, my life sucks right now, but I got this.
Right. And then the whole thing is if you keep your phone in your bathroom and then you're not allowed to check the phone until you finish, or is it 30 minutes, or just you have to do the high five first?
Do what works for you. Like for me.
Don't you get stuck in the bathroom just checking your emails?
Absolutely not. You know why?
Why?
My mental health and my goals, my finances, my family, my dreams, way more important than what's on that fucking phone.
Right. So you don't check any emails for how long? For 30 minutes, you said?
I try.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
Depends on the day.
Okay.
My husband's up at like 5. I'm like, I'm doing 75 hard right now, so I'm getting up a little bit earlier.
You're doing what?
That challenge 75 hard.
What is that challenge 75 hard?
It's some...
Well, I guess I'm like out in the. I guess I have no idea.
Amy's doing it too. We got roped into it. My husband and my daughter are doing it.
I've heard of it actually. But
it's 75 days. It's very male. Like I've decided I'm going to come up with something called like 21 days easier.
Oh, I think is this the
like
one that Jesse Itzler's doing? No, that's not.
I have no idea.
Okay, no.
But it's like 2 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside.
I did hear about this actually.
Gallon of water. You have to stick to a particular diet of your choosing. No alcohol. 10 pages of nonfiction. What else do we have to do?
So you have to do 240.
Workout, read,
water. Oh, progress photo. And you've got to do it 75 days in a row. And if you miss one day, you're out. You got to go back to 0.
So is it too late to start?
You can start anytime you want. It's not like a thing. It's like a thing you do yourself or with a group.
2 45-minute workouts a day. Can it be anything?
I walk my dog. Check.
For 45
I
minutes?
Check. Yeah, I'm into winning. Like, I don't know about everybody else, but this is the other thing. I have been like, and the high five habit is not for losers because we very wildly successful people, we tend to harp on the things going wrong. You will have so much more success and more joy and be a better leader if you are able to laser focus and celebrate the things going right.
But how do you teach that really?
You stand in front of a damn mirror
and you do the high five.
Yes.
So okay,
I know you do not want to believe it. I know.
I do believe it. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna join the challenge. How about that?
You can do this. Yeah, do the high five challenge. High five challenge. 5 million people. 5 mornings in a row.
Okay.
It's hosted by Growth Day. Why is this water black?
Okay. I want to just dive straight in because this was not an easy book for you to write. Am I correct? And I also love that you revealed, and I want to get into this a little bit later, but can you just tell everyone, for those who might think it's Mel friggin' Robbins and she can just pop things out and create things, and here's her next big best-selling book. Can you reveal to people why this one was a challenge and what that road was like for you?
Sure. This is the first book that I've put out in print in almost 5 years. And one of the reasons why it's a challenge is because I have dyslexia. I have ADHD. It's hard for me to get something on paper. I mean, I can talk and blather on like an idiot, forever, particularly if I have a few drinks in me. So audio stuff is super easy, but actually getting something on paper, my mind doesn't work that way. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I really struggle just like everybody does. And I know that so many of you that follow your work, Marie, and that love you or that are alumni of your incredible courses, I should say. We all struggle with this notion that we don't know what the thing is, and then so I didn't know what to write about. And because the 5-second rule had such a profound impact on millions of people's lives, absolutely anything that I kind of put on paper just seemed kind of stupid.
Yes.
And so I became my own biggest critic. And in the last probably 4.5 years, my family will tell you, I drove them absolutely fucking crazy because I was constantly working on a book and I would crank out something, and my process of writing is to dictate. So I just record, because you don't have to make yourself do things the hard way. If you struggle with something, figure out a cheat. For me, it was just dictating, putting little voice memo notes in my phone. It would be sitting in front of my computer and just dictate. And then we'd send them off for transcription. And then what I would find is that the things that I was saying did not actually translate down to writing. I skip words. I sort of put the front of the sentence at the end of the sentence when I talk. And so we would edit and nothing seemed good. And I started to feel discouraged. And this was what was going on for 4 years. And
okay.
I want to go ahead.
Let me interrupt you because I really want to unpack this because there's not many people in the world that I can do this with. And I feel like you and I are soul sisters in this way.
We so are.
So my question for you was the idea for the high five habit there, or were you kind of test driving different?
Oh my God, no. The idea for the high five habit was nowhere on the radar screen.
Yes.
I was writing things like, motivation is garbage. That's what we should do because of that clip that went viral with Tom Bilyeu. And that just kind of didn't light me up.
Yes.
And that's how you know if you have an idea that's for you. An idea that's for you is sort of like a little spark in a forest almost. It's like that little first pop that you feel energy, a great idea that's your idea or that's the right idea for you. It might not end up being the thing.
Yep.
It expands you. There's a little bit of something. And honestly, as I was working for the last 4 years, I felt dead. I felt defeated. I just knew even if I pushed an idea forward, Marie, it wasn't it.
Yes.
And so yes.
So I want to play with that for a minute because did you have the feeling, two things. One, that your best work had already come out, that the 5-second rule was like the thing.
For sure.
Okay, good. I just want to say that because I've had that so many times. So I just want to normalize that so people don't think you or I or other people like us or people that they admire are these like kind of special unicorns. And two, did you have a voice in your head that said, if I was really a writer or coach or whatever professional leading person in this field of personal development, that I would be able to crank out like a book a year? And by the way, it's not like you've been sitting twiddling your thumbs, right? You've got best-selling audiobooks, but I just want to know from the inside out, because I've had this, that because the idea wasn't like right there and you just couldn't do it, that it kind of starts this backpedaling of like, I must just suck. I'm like a one-hit wonder.
1,000%. And then on top of it, I completely tortured myself by watching people that I love, like you or Jay Shetty or, Gabby or anybody that is kind of in even our friend group where I'm like, I love you and I hate you. I love you and I hate you. Why are they able to crank out those many videos? Why are they able to put those courses? There must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm just a one-hit pony here. I got lucky on the 5-second rule. By the skin of my teeth, that thing got done. It's helping people. Thank you
you. I'm done here. There will never be another idea. I'm not as smart as those people. I'm not as organized as those people. I got lucky. Like that is 1,000% what I said. And, the other thing too is that I also felt like I was on the outside. And so I will tell everybody, this is so important because I think when you start launching your own thing, you're lit up because you're finally going to start your yoga studio. You're finally going to start that catering business, or you're finally going to start that flower growing business, or you're finally going to do the thing. And then all of a sudden you do the thing. And instead of being excited and thrilled and validating yourself, you then look up and go, oh, wait a minute. There are all these other people that do something similar and they're all friends or they're all bigger than me. And then you start to tell your story that you're the little one on the outside looking in.
Yes.
That you're not part, you know what I mean? And then you use that to invalidate yourself.
Completely.
And so I found a gajillion ways to tell myself, I call it pile driving. I would just pile drive myself. And, it was paralyzing, and it makes the process of creating anything so sucky, so laborious, so stress filled. It creates more procrastination. And so I have been in the soup of self-judgment for 4.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I remember I've talked about this a couple times, but I don't think we can say it enough. Like my process for creating everything is figure outable. I'm like, oh, this is great. Like I am absolutely unable to figure out how to write a book called Everything is Figure Outable, and tortured the hell out of myself while I was writing it. And like, should I give back the money? I'm not really meant to do that. I mean, like, and this has happened so many times in my career. So I love talking about this stuff because sometimes these are the stories that you don't get to hear. And people just make all of these assumptions, and it's just not the truth.
Well, and when that book came out, let me just tell you what happened. Your book came out, and I saw this incredible title. I saw this on-brand book. I saw you putting more amazing, life-changing work out. The book is fucking fantastic.
Thank you.
I read every, word, and you don't even read every word and let it seep in because you're like, this is so good. Why didn't I do this? Of course she can put a book out because she's Marie. You know what I mean? So you literally, and it's so interesting because, one of the things you and I are going to talk about is that your relationship with yourself is the foundation for everything.
Yes.
So if you look in the mirror and you judge yourself or reject yourself or you are insecure about anything, you then take that self-rejection and self-judgment and that insecurity and you project it on everything that you see. And so instead of being able to walk in a world where your genius coexists with other people's genius, instead of being able to walk in a world where you're like, everything is unfolding for me. This is taking time because it's supposed to. Marie is a light on the path for me. And if I'm secure with myself and if I can literally support and encourage myself, even when I'm struggling, what happens is you start to see the world differently. I see your book and I'm like, if she can do it, that means she's lighting the path and I can do it. And the only reason why, again, I couldn't do that is because I hadn't actually discovered or started to feel the impact of this high five habit thing.
Yes.
Which was a total, I didn't set out to do this. I did not say, okay, I need another book with a 5 in it. And it's not going to be the 5 decisions. It's not going to be the 5 this. I need another book with a 5. And we got to figure out and it's going to be 5 parts and 5. Like, no, that's not what I set out to do.
Yes.
Life punched me in the fucking face.
Yes.
And I fell into a hole. Like we all fall into a hole. And this is kind of my brand, for better or for worse. This is what I'm going to need to embrace. My brand of transformation is dig a hole or fall in one and then figure out how to build a ladder. And then as you're doing this process of helping yourself pick yourself back up through a really hard time, I have had 2 instances in my life where I have stumbled upon something that is absurd on its face that turns out to have been handed to me by the universe as a gift. And it also turns out, when you unpack it, to have a mind-blowing amount of depth and science to it. And that's what the high five habit is. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.